starting Unit 4, which is about absorption and transmission of water and mineral salts in plants. Now let's know about the parts of the plant. Any plant is divided into two main parts, shoot part and the root part. The root system and the shoot system participate together in making the plant food by the process which is called photosynthesis process. How the plant make its food by photosynthesis process? The plants take the sunlight and the carbon dioxide from the air and the water and minerals from the soil, which absorbed by the roots. Also, the soil contains mineral salts that include phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, nitrogen, and zinc. So, as I said before, the plant takes the sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, and minerals to make its food by photosynthesis process. The absorption of water and mineral salts from the soil occur by the roots, and the transmission of water and mineral from the root to other parts of the plant occur by the stem. Now let's know more about the absorption of water and minerals from the soil through the root hair in the epidermis layer of the root system.
Plants need water. Plant roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. Water absorption is mainly carried out by root hairs. These narrow-walled hairs greatly increase the area over which water absorption can take place. Water and minerals enter the root by two pathways. Xylem vessels are long, narrow, hollow tubes containing no living material. The xylem transports water and soluble mineral nutrients from the roots to other parts of a plant.
This is the root of the plant which is under the soil. When we see under microscope, this is the structure of the root. We have 5 parts we have to know about the structure of the root. The first one is called epidermis, which is the outer layer here. It's called epidermis. The second layer is called cortex, which is a thick layer. Then the endodermis, which is the red layer here. Layer number 4 is called the xylem. The fifth layer, which is the inner part of the root. Know more about the structure of the root. The first layer, which is called epidermis layer, is the external layer with root hair extending from its cells. This is the root hair, which absorbs the water from the soil. Then the cortex layer, which is the thick layer that follows the epidermis layer, which lies here in the root. Then number 3 is called the xylem layer or the wood layer. It follows the endodermis layer. This is the endodermis and this is the xylem layer. Number 4, the pith layer, the last layer that follows the xylem layer, which is here. More about the function of the root. The root branched and extended in the soil particles to allow two functions which are so important. Fixing the root in the soil. The root is so extended to fix the plant inside the soil, and it also absorbs water and minerals from the soil. So the root has two functions: fixing the plant inside the soil and absorbing the water inside from the soil. Give reason, the root system is very important for the plant. Why? Because of the two functions of the root. Because it fixes the the plant inside the soil and it absorbs the water and minerals from the soil. Let's know about the root hair. What is the root hair? You can see in the picture there is hair that come out from the epidermis layer of the root. They extend from the epidermis cell of the root. Each root hair has a big vacuole that contains salt solution. Can you see here in this picture? This is the structure of the root hair, and this is the big vacuole that I am talking about. The age just not exceeding few days. Why? Because during the extension of the root through the soil, this is the soil particles, and the root also extending here. The epidermis cells are lost by the resistance of the soil particles, so they are replaced continuously. So the root hair is not exceeding few days age.
Cell membrane of these cells is semi-permeable in nature. Water molecules and mineral salts enter the cell by osmosis. They contain cell sap, that is, a solution of higher concentration than that of the surrounding soil water.
More about the root hair structure. The cell membrane of the root hair has selective permeability. What is the meaning of that? The selective permeability means that the cells of the root hair allow some salts to pass through the root hair and other salts cannot pass. Why the hair root contains selective permeability? To allow some types of salt to pass according to the plant's needs. Now, what is the meaning of selective permeability? It is the process by which the cell membrane of the root hair allows some types of salt to pass according to the plant's need. As you see in the picture, the soil contains so many elements: phosphorus, zinc, magnesium, nitrogen, so many elements. But the only elements that can pass through the root hair is the only element that the plants need. The vacuole inside the root hair contains a salt solution which has a higher concentration of salts. So, how the root hair absorbs water? The concentration of salt solution inside the root hair is higher than the concentration of the salt solution in the soil. So, the water is absorbed from the root to the soil by osmosis. Now we will know what is the meaning of osmosis. The meaning of osmosis is the transmission of water molecules through the semi-permeable membrane from an area with high concentration of water to an area of low concentration of water. If you can imagine that, inside the root hair, the vacuole contains high concentration of salt. So, the concentration of water is so low inside. And outside, in the soil, it has low concentration of salt, means it has high concentration of water. So, the water transferred from the high concentration to the low concentration. So, the root hair absorbs the water through the osmosis process.
Have seen raisins swelling up when kept in water for some time. Any idea how this magic works? Well, it's simply the process of osmosis which results in the swelling of these raisins. You heard me right. It's osmosis process due to which the water from the surrounding medium enters the cells of the raisins, helping them to swell. Can we define osmosis once? It's simply defined as the process in which water moves from higher water concentration to lower water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. An interesting thing to know about osmosis is that the movement of water is affected by the amount of a substance dissolved in it. And what does this mean exactly? Let's conduct an experiment to understand it better. Let's take 3 plates or containers with salt solutions of different concentration in each. Let's add a few red blood cells, that is RBCs, in each. After a while, we notice that the first set has cells which are shrinked, the second set has cells that are just the same, while the third set has cells which are swollen or bulged. Any idea why this happened? Let's understand this. In the first case, the water content in the surrounding solution was less as compared to the cells placed in it. In other words, the salt content of the solution is more, and therefore this solution is a concentrated one. That is the reason why the water molecules moved from inside the cells to the outside solution, as the concentration of water was higher within the cells. Hence the cells started shrinking. This kind of solution is called as hypertonic solution. That is the solution with higher salt concentration. Now let's have a look at the second case. Here, the level of salt and water seems to be the same on either side of the cell membranes. That is, both within and outside the cell. Therefore, there was a balance in the movement of water. What do we understand by this? It means that the movement of water was the same in either directions. As a result, the size of the cell did not change. It remained the same. Do you know what such a solution is called? It's called as isotonic solution. The two solutions are isotonic when the concentration of water is the same on either sides of the semi-permeable membrane. Now let's focus on this third set. The cells in this case are surrounded by a dilute solution, that is by higher water concentration. The salt dissolved is less and the water content is higher. Therefore, water molecules move inside the cells and hence the cells get swollen. Such a solution is called a hypotonic solution. In other words, solution with a higher water concentration compared to the other. This is how various solutions and their different concentrations help cells to sustain pressure and to survive. Movement of molecules across the plasma membrane is also influenced by the simple process of osmosis.
We have to know that water is transmitted from the soil to the root hair vacuole by osmosis, while salt are transmitted from the soil by selective permeability. Before, high concentration of salt solution means that it contains a small amount of water, so it's low concentration of water. And the low concentration of salt means it has a big amount of water, so it's high concentration of water. And the water is transmitted from the high concentration to the low concentration. Now we knew about the absorption of water from the soil to the root. Now stage 2, which is about transmission of water and dissolved mineral salts from the root to other parts of the plant to make its food. Now let's know about the steps of water and mineral salts absorption through the plant. I said that the root hair in the epidermis layer absorb water by the osmosis process and absorb the mineral salts by the selective permeability. Then this juice that contain water and mineral salts move through the endodermis layer that regulates the passing of water through the xylem. This is the xylem. Then the xylem or the wood tissue rises the juice, which is the water and the mineral salts together, to reach the stem and other parts of the plant like the leaves and the flower. After reaching the water and mineral salts all over parts of the plant need to get rid of the excess water through the holes which found on the leaves of the plant, which is called the stomata, by the process which is called transpiration process. So we have a definition for the stomata. There are tiny holes spread on the two surfaces of the plant leaves and other green parts through which the plant gets rid of the excess water. As you see in this picture, this is the structure of the stomata. It contains two cells which called the guard cells. The guard cells change their shapes according to their function. Let's know more about that. Plants lose most of the water through the stomata. Stomata are widely spread on the lower surface of the leaf. Each stomata is surrounded by two guard cells, as you see here. The function of the guard cells control opening and closing of the stoma by changing their shapes. It's not the definition for the transpiration process. The vital process by which the plant loses the excess water in the form of water vapor through the stomata, which are spread on the two surfaces of the leaves and other green parts of the surrounding environment of the plant.
About 95% of the water absorbed is lost through the stomata present in the leaves. This process is known as transpiration. The number of stomata is more on the lower surface of leaves. If transpiration happens throughout the day, then there will be a great loss of water. This is controlled by the stomatal opening and closing mechanism. During the daytime, water enters into the guard cells along with the potassium ions. This brings about a change in the shape of the guard cells and the stoma opens. During the night, the potassium ions and water molecules leave the guard cells. Thus, the turgidity decreases and the stoma closes. Stomata also act.
Now we have an experiment to show the transpiration process. What we have to do is bring a leafy potted plant and cover the soil of the plant with a fabric coated with Vaseline. Why we do that? To prevent any loss of water through the soil and make sure that any water that comes out will come from the leaves, not from the soil. Then put the plant under the bell jar and over a glass board. Leave it in the sunlight for several hours and you will observe that there is a water drops here on the bell jar. What you will conclude from that, the plant loses some of its water through the holes that's called stomata by the transpiration process. You see in this picture, the water is coming up all the time. Why is that? Because loss of water through the stomata by transpiration creates a pulling force that rises water upward all the time to the top of the plant.
We know that roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. But most of the water absorbed is lost in the form of water vapor into the air. This process is called transpiration. Let's learn about how transpiration takes place in plants. In plants, the water required is absorbed by the roots from the soil with the help of root hairs by a process called osmosis. The water is further transported upwards through the stems to the leaves through xylem, which acts as a pipeline. Xylem cells have thick walls. Water then enters in mesophyll cell through stomata. Stomata are openings on the leaf surface through which transpiration takes place. The stomata are surrounded by guard cells which help the stomata to open and close. Transpiration takes place during daytime when the stomata are open.
Now let's know the role of transpiration process in raising the water and dissolved mineral salts to the upward direction inside the plant. This is the direction of absorbing water. Step number 1. The absorbed water and the dissolved mineral salts from the soil through the root hair. Then, step number 2. Transportation of water and dissolved salts to all parts of the plant through the xylem. The last step. Exit of the water from the stomata during the transpiration process, acting on the pulling water to upward. So for the evaluation, and this is your homework for today, what's meant by transpiration process? What's meant by osmosis feature? Selective permeability. Write the scientific term. A structure that extends from the root wall to absorb water. 2. A structure in the plant where water passes through it from root to stem then to leaves. 3. Transmission of water molecules through a semi-permeable membrane from an area with low concentrated solution to an area with high concentrated solution. 4. A biological process through which plants lose water in the form of wave vapor from the plant leaves through stomata. 5. Two cells that surround the leaf stoma. 6. The ability of the cell membrane of the root hair to allow some salt to pass through according to the plant's needs. Thank you.